Chapter 1. Ryan. If only. Two little words with one massive bloody meaning. If only. I'd finished pretending to do my homework and was flicking through a Taekwondo magazine when I heard Mum ask my stepfather John if he'd go down to the supermarket for her. I stopped flicking when I heard John say, "Ryan can do it." Sweet, I thought. I'd had my restricted license for just a fortnight, and every time I took the car out, it felt so cool. I'd driven to the supermarket a few times when I only had my learner's license, and I could feel Mum gripping the edge of her seat whenever I made the tricky turn out of the car park for the traffic lights. Now they trusted me to go by myself. "Yeah, I'll do it," I called before my mother could say anything. She was silent for a second, then, "Can you go soon, please, Ryan?" "There's plenty of time," I told her. "It's only 8:30. On a restricted license, you're not allowed to drive between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Plus, you can't carry any passengers unless they're a fully licensed driver keeping an eye on you. John stuck his head through the doorway. "Better go now, mate." I muttered under my breath, but I knew he was right. Mum would be twitchy till I was safely back. The phone rang while I was getting my jacket. "Ryan," Mum called. "It's Vince." "I'll take it in my room," I told her. Meet my 16th birthday present. My very own, I nagged for it for months, phone extension. I closed my door and picked up the receiver. "What do you want?" I said. My best mate laughed. "A bit of bloody politeness for starters. Hey, you want to watch some DVDs tomorrow night?" Tomorrow was Friday. No Taekwondo practice or anything. "Yeah, cool. What you got?" "Ash and I are just heading down to look," Vince said. "Want to come?" "Can't. Got to go to the supermarket for Mum. In the vehicle." I should have known better. Vince was in like a flash. "Pick us up, eh?" Even though the door was closed, I lowered my voice. "I can't. I'm unrestricted, remember?" "Oh, come on," Vince went. "Nobody's going to know, and it's chucking down outside." Crap. There'd been a few showers of rain since dinner time. "I'm not supposed to take passengers," I told him, and knew it sounded feeble. Vince knew too. "What are ya, a bloody pussy? Ash and I can go to Video Easy while you're mummy's boy at the supermarket. Come on." I could have said no. Instead, I heard my mouth going, "I'll pick you up at the bus stop." "Cool. 5 minutes, eh?" The phone went down. I got my jacket, I got the keys from John, and I told Mum, yeah, I'd be careful. I headed out to the garage and the Subaru. If only. Tara. It was such an awesome netball practice. You know those times where everything works perfectly, when every pass goes straight to the right person, every shot curves through the hoop? This was one of those. Even Miss Gilchrist was pleased, though she didn't show it. Well, she wouldn't. She's a maths teacher. We went through all our moves. The girls were really buzzing. Our team's called the Rockets, and we were sure flying like rockets. Brittany and Mel were burning all over the place. We were going to win the summer league this term, no arguing. There was one moment where Brittany threw a high pass and I jumped to take it. I felt myself soaring through the air, arms stretched out. I seemed to be hovering off the ground. I've been fumbling a few passes lately, but I caught this one perfectly, flicked it straight to Mel, and she sank another goal. Britt flashed me a ginormous grin. "Awesome, Tara." "Not bad," Miss Gilchrist admitted at the end. "Team meeting tomorrow lunchtime, remember? And some of you also better remember your maths assignment." Talk about coming down to earth. Brittany and Mel and I all groaned together. Hell, I thought. I'd have to do it before I leave for work. "I gotta go," I told the others, and headed off for home. I didn't bother to shower. No point when you're spending the next few hours in a fish and chip shop. I did my maths, sort of. I had a Coke, told Mum I didn't want any tea because Jimmy would give me some at work. Didn't listen when she said that Coke and chips weren't good for an adolescent girl, Tara. and shot off with a wave to Dad, who was getting out of his car in the drive. I zipped down to the corner and over the pedestrian crossing on Lithgow Street. A car was coming, with only its parking lights on. It was closer than I thought, and the driver had to brake as I started out onto the crossing. He tooted at me as I made the footpath. I thought about giving him the finger, but I was still feeling so good from netball practice that I didn't bother. I started sprinting for Jimmy's. Ryan. Vince and Ash were in the shelter at the bus stop. Ash grinned. Vince said, "Glad you remembered your mates," as they piled in, Vince in the front, naturally. "Just don't bloody tell anyone, eh?" I grunted. "I want to keep this license." I drove carefully, eyes open for cops. I told the others to crouch down if they saw any. So Vince squeezed down onto the floor and started making police siren noises and waving his arms up above the dashboard. At the lights, an old guy in the next lane saw these two arms flopping backwards and forwards and locked his doors. When Ash told Vince, my best mate stuck a foot up in the air as well. Yeah, sometimes I wonder why he's my best mate. We got to the supermarket. He and Ash pulled themselves out of the Subaru and headed off for Video Easy. "Don't be long, eh?" I yelled after them. Hell, I sounded like my mother. I got the stuff on Mum's list. I came back to the car, put the bags in the boot, and sat with the radio blaring on Power FM. No sign of the guys. My watch said 9:02 p.m, and I was getting pissed off. It wasn't just that I had to be home by 10. John and Mum would be wanting to know what kept me for so long. If I got stopped from using the car because of Vince mucking around... I gave them another 5 minutes, then started the engine and drove out of the car park and across to Video Easy, faster than I meant to. Vince and Ash were just coming out, and they didn't see me at first. When I blasted the horn at them, Vince made like he was in some movie, ducking behind a van outside the store, pretending to lob grenades at me. "Come on," I yelled. They jumped in. Ash said, "Sorry, mate." Vince said, "Who's driving then?" I gave him a filthy look. He stuck his hands up, saying, Okay, and we headed off. The rain was heavier now. 9:11 p.m. Tara. It was a quiet night at the shop. Good for me, not so good for Jimmy. Jimmy isn't his real name. It's Han Zemin, and he was a psychiatric nurse back in his own country. But when he and his wife Dolly came to New Zealand, our hospitals wouldn't give him a job till his English was improved. So he's running this fish and chip shop for its owner and learning English by correspondence. And from me, poor guy. I saw a notice in their shop window about 2 months back. "Help want. Thanks you." I laughed, went in, got smiled at by this little pretty woman who said, "Please now, please now." She called out in Chinese, and Jimmy came through from the back. He's neat to work for. He and Dolly do the cooking. I take the orders, give change, chat to the customers. Jimmy listens and learns. Dolly listens and smiles. I work there Mondays and Thursdays. Like I say, this Thursday was really quiet. Friday and Saturday are the busy nights. I don't work then, and I'm quite glad. You got to have some social life, and anyway, too many guys come in half pissed those nights. At about 5 to 9, Jimmy said, "You go, Tara, we can tidy." Dolly nodded and smiled. "You sure?" I said. Jimmy nodded too. "You go. Get pretty sleep." I blinked, then realised he meant beauty sleep. I'd have to tell Brittany and Mel that. "See you Monday then." I told my bosses, and they both grinned. I knew that when they closed, they'd go home to their grotty little concrete flat, and Jimmy would stay up for another couple of hours learning his English. Outside, it was dark and raining. I pulled up the hood of my parka and began to run. As I started, I snatched a look at my watch. 9:08 p.m. Ryan. Vince was being a total dickhead. The DVDs he and Ash had got included some martial arts thing, and he was sitting in the passenger seat throwing TKD punches at the cars we passed. "Geez, I hope nobody reported us to the cops." "Cool it," I told him. The rain was coming down quite hard. "Drop us off at home, mate," Vince said. "We're going to get soaked otherwise." That would take another 3 minutes. Mum and John would be going ballistic. Ash must have been thinking the same. "It's okay," he began. "We can—" Vince stopped him. "Nah, Ryan's a mate. Aren't you, Ryan?" I grunted. I just wanted to get rid of them. I turned down Lithgow Street. Tara. The rain was driving down now. I didn't mind. I'd have a shower when I got home. Anyway, after the fish and chips, it was good to be outside where things smelt fresh and cool. I kept my head down as I ran. My legs strode along. Brittany said she once heard a guy call me the chick with the great legs, and I suppose they're not bad. I came round a corner, skidded for a second on the wet footpath, and then powered on. I was a rocket. Nothing could stop me. I lifted my head, squinting into the rain, and saw the Lithgow Street crossing ahead. Only 3 minutes till home and a shower. I looked down again as I ran. Aren't legs amazing? I suddenly thought. Not just mine, I mean, all human legs and the way they move. There was one car coming. It wasn't really close, and anyway, I knew that tonight I could beat anything. I was a flying rocket. I swung out onto the crossing. The step down from the footpath was higher than it looked. I stumbled, and my foot slipped on the rain-slipped tar seal. I staggered on the spot for a second. At the same moment, the car's engine roared. From the corner of my eye, I saw it leap forward suddenly. Then it was on me. Ryan. Ash was getting pissed off too. "Give it a rest, Vince." But Vince took no notice. "I am a fighting machine, the ultimate ninja. Hee-yah!" His hand punched the air in front of me. I ignored him. Just let me drop these two off and try to think up an excuse for Mum and John. We came round a corner. Vince held the DVD now and was pretending to throw it like a kung fu star. Suddenly, I'd had enough. I shoved him sideways, grabbed the DVD out of his hand and yelled, "Just bloody cool it!" I half turned to drop the DVD on the back seat beside Ash. As I did so, my right foot slipped on the accelerator. The engine revved and the car shot forward. For half a second, my eyes met Ash's. He was staring past me, through the front windscreen. He began to yell something. Somehow I knew what it was. I wrenched my head round, foot stabbing for the brake, and there was the girl right in front of us.